There are days when I'm free at 3 p.m. There are days when I'm working at 3 a.m. I actually wrote prelims twice. I failed twice in prelims. And the first time I would say was more of an attempt to understand the flavor of the exam. And I realized after my first failure that it's not just another exam that you can crack, by going by hearsay.
Hi all, I am Mohammed Shinas, the director of iLearn IAS. I'm extremely happy to introduce you Aparna MB, who secured 62nd rank in this year's UPSc examination. Aparna is a wonderful personality. To get to know about her journey about UPSc would be very much interesting to all the aspirants as well as others. So I would like to welcome Aparna to the session. Hi Aparna, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
See, Aparna, your father was working in a bank, right? And because of that reason itself, I believe that you have traveled across during your school days. Okay. So, how much have that journey has helped you over? I mean, that journey between different schools. Okay. How much have that helped you?
So that is true. I have actually studied in 5 different schools, and I did my graduation and post-graduation also from Delhi University. So I would say one quality that was really ingrained in my personality because of that was how quickly can you adapt to different environments, and change has been a real constant in my life. So, and also the fact that I think I did develop some kind of appreciation for cultural diversity. And my experiences also led me to a field study in Jharkhand once. So I do believe all these small incidents cumulatively played a huge role in motivating me to get into the civil services.
So, after your graduation from DSC, you got job as a data scientist.
Yes.
So, right now it is the time of data, right? Data mining,
True.
I mean, big data analytics and all. So, you were in the core of that industry. Then what made you to leave and start preparing for UPSC? So, what motivated you to come into civil service after being such an interesting profile?
In fact, most of my personality tests actually revolved around the same question. So it is true, it was a great job, it was a great opportunity. I in fact got to do a lot of on-site work also in the US. There was a lot of scope for innovation, all that is true. But I think over the course of time, there are a couple of things that I realized that I do appreciate in my career. So one of those things was accountability for what I'm doing. So I found that there was very little social impact in the kind of work that I was doing. In fact, if I juxtapose my experience in the private sector with my 2 months experience as a field researcher in Jharkhand, I would say that I was much more satisfied doing the work there, just that I did not have the power to do anything for the people. So I realized that there are small changes that can make big impacts in the lives of people if you get into civil services. So social impact is a big motivating factor for me to leave my private sector job. Also, civil services has been a childhood dream. It's just that I took a long-winded journey to end up here. I decided to work in the private sector. I in fact even tried my hand in social entrepreneurship. I worked with an NGO. So after all that, I realized that I think my career goals and aspirations align most aptly with a job of an IAS officer. That is how I ended up here.
So, when did you start the UPSC preparation? I mean, I believe that you wrote 2 attempts while you were working, right? So, during those periods, were you studying and working? So, how was the study pattern and all over the period?
Yes, you're right. I actually wrote prelims twice. I failed twice in prelims. And the first time I would say was more of an attempt to understand the flavor of the exam. And I realized after my first failure that it's not just another exam that you can crack, by going by hearsay. You have to really put in a lot of effort. So I would say my second attempt was still better. It's just that my strategy was bad. So I didn't really know what exactly would work in prelims. I was either too concentrated on the revision aspect or too much into giving mock tests. I never found that balance. And it was kind of difficult to manage with a very haphazard work schedule. So coming from the consulting sector, it's actually very hard to find a constant schedule. So there are days when I'm free at 3 p.m. There are days when I'm working at 3 a.m. So it was very difficult to take out a constant X number of hours for my studies. So I think that did not do justice to my preparation. And even from deep inside, I felt that I had to give one sincere attempt. Otherwise, my journey would have been incomplete. That's why I decided to resign. And since January 2020, I've been preparing full time for UPSC.
So once you are done with the prelims to the mains bit is very crucial. Because what actually matters is not how much you have scored in the prelims. You just need to cross the cutoff. But what actually matters is how much you score in the mains. So there the most important element is how well you write. So how was your preparation, mains preparation or the mains answer writing preparation?
So in fact, iLearn had a very big role to play in that. I joined the mains test series from iLearn. And I would say the key to success in mains is definitely answer writing practice. At the same time, it is a rumor that answer writing from day one will benefit somebody. So I think the exam is so logically structured that after you cross prelims, you already have a good repository of knowledge. So you should actually bank on that to enrich your answers in your mains. So that is a strategy that I really stuck to. So what I did was, I had a notebook of sorts after prelims. So wherever I made a mistake in a mock, I would write down that in that notebook. And I use those factoids to actually enrich my answers in my mains. Another thing that I did was, I actually went by the syllabus and I, word to word, I searched every word in the main syllabus and I made sure that I had something written on that topic. Because most often what happens is there are verbatim questions that come in mains from one subtopic. So I think that level of scrutiny of the syllabus is also something that really helps in mains. And of course, last but not the least, answer writing, that is, as I said before, it is the most important aspect. And also a good mentor is extremely necessary for success in mains. And I would say iLearn really exceeded all my expectations. I had a very dedicated mentor and all his feedback really helped me to constantly improve my performance with every single test.
In fact, Aparna was one of the topper for the many of the test series also, of the various papers also. So, see, the test series plays a crucial role along with the mentor also. But that particular day, not that single day, like if you take the mains examination, one examination starts on Friday, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then 1 week break, then again Saturday, Sunday. It's a very Herculean task to complete it on a very effective manner, a physical as well as a mental toll, right? So how do you overcome that?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. It's a very different thing to write one answer every day versus completing an entire paper in 3 hours. And I think here it is necessary to really evaluate where our strengths are. There are people who find it difficult to express what they're feeling in writing. There are people who write a lot. I was one of those. And my constant challenge was not being able to complete the paper. And as we know, competition is so high in UPSC that even with a 1 mark margin, there are at least 10 candidates. So it's very important to complete the paper on time. So what I did was, I made sure that before the exam, I gave, just in the pattern of UPSC, on 3 consecutive days, I wrote 6 papers, just to make sure that I'm in the groove. And I should admit that I finally completed a paper on time just about 1 week before the actual mains. So, and because of that, I don't really remember what I've written in my mains. I was in such a hurry to finish my paper that I have absolutely no memory of what I've written. So, we should identify where our weaknesses lie. I correctly identified that mine was time management. If it is about articulation, I think mentorship would definitely help. And all these quality enrichment programs that we can find and whatever research that we do, all these can add value to our answers and possibly give us more confidence to write better answers.
So, you did your graduation from Delhi University, then post-graduation from DSC. So, economics was your stronghold. Was that the reason why you took economics? Or is there anything else that motivated you to take economics as optional?
So, economics is a subject that I always loved. So, that is the reason why I chose that as my graduation also. But UPSC economics optional is actually a different ballgame altogether. So, even in this paper, there are very different strategies that we need for both paper 1 and paper 2. So my thoughts were that there's a certain level of quantitative rigor that is there in paper 1, and I always thought that quant was my strong area. So my perception was that I could do well in paper 1 if I fare well in those areas. And by nature, paper 2 is a little factual. I am actually very bad at remembering facts, but I thought that if I can filter out and figure out what are the facts that I need to retain, if I can make that distinction, then I could fare well in paper 2 also. So from that point of view, even after doing this evaluation, choosing economics was a no-brainer for me, given that I spent 5 years studying economics. So it was a natural choice for me.
And when it comes to the final stage, that's a personality test. See, there are it's an altogether different ballgame, because till this particular point, we are actually focused on bringing in those facts over there. But right now, it is your personality that they are trying to evaluate. So during this period, how did you start the preparation right from the DAF till the interview? So how was that preparation for interview?
So I think personality test for me was the most interesting experience, because it was a great journey where I figured out a lot of new things about myself. And I would say the starting point was you, Shinaz sir, because you helped me a lot with really decoding my detailed application form and finding out finer aspects where questions can really come from. And I should say a lot of questions did come from those expected areas. So I think about what are the strategies that we should follow, the first step is to find a good mentor who can actually evaluate our DAF and tell us what we really need to work on. So that is the first step. Second step, of course, beyond DAF, this is actually one area where anything under the sun can be asked, unlike mains and prelims, which have a defined syllabus. So there, I think continuous paper reading, newspapers, and a good reading habit, I think, are what really helped me in preparing for the interview. Here also, I actually created a repository of questions that I got from various institutes. I tried preparing answers for them. But again, at the end of the day, like you said, it's a completely different ball game, because the first question that the chairman asked me was, how do you feel now? And my first thought was, I haven't prepared for this. So really, the environment is such that all your preparation will really go to waste if you do not have presence of mind there. So I think the biggest armor that somebody can have is a presence of mind in the interview. And of course, there is some degree of predictability that we can control using our DAF preparation.
See, you are interested in music and you play different instruments. You are into dance. You are an avid Kathak learner right now. Then you read a lot. So, having this a rounded personality rather than just being an academic, or in the sense of a nerd, not being a nerd, but having a round personality. So I think that actually helped you in your interview, right? That well-rounded personality. Don't you think that UPSC is always looking into to have those well-rounded personalities?
Definitely. I think even the questions range from various aspects regarding my hobbies and interests and all that. And I think the topic that we're talking about is how this can help us. I think perspectives are what come from all these different extracurriculars and interests that we have. Definitely a reading habit, a good reading habit, which everybody should cultivate, I believe, whoever wants to get into civil services. And even if we know trivia about all these various fields that we are talking about, I think we can use that as some kind of anchor when we are talking in the conversation. And I think it did add a lot of interesting touches to my interview. So definitely, I do think that UPSC would appreciate some degree of roundedness. But again, the marks haven't come out, so I'm just hoping that it really did pay off. So we'll know for sure only when I get to see my marks.
During your preparation, when you come to iLearn, one thing that I have struck out is like you are very clear about what you want. But I believe, I was wondering, how is she very clear about herself? But I came to know that she is very clear about herself after meeting her father. So during the interview preparation, I think I had a very long discussion with him also. So I believe he had a great influence on you, right?
Definitely.
So how well your father was actually part of the journey?
I would say he was my biggest inspiration. My first perceptions about civil services, how we can do good in the society, actually came from him. So if I remember correctly, when I was in 7th standard, so my school was very far. My father used to pick me up, and we used to, because I used to live very far from school. We used to have this long drive from school to home, and he used to point out a lot of things and talk about, see, these are the things you can improve in the society. See, these are small things that you can change. So I think those small conversations really stayed with me. But even then, I could have written this exam when I was 21 years old, but I still waited 5 more years just because I wanted to make that decision for myself. And he was very supportive in that sense. He never forced any opinion on me. He just said that this is a good opportunity, you can think about it. And the rest of it he really left to me. And after going through a lot of life experiences, I made this decision for myself that I want to get into civil services. And I think it would have been very different had somebody just told me that this is your route, go ahead and follow your dream. Now I know for sure that these are the experiences I've gone through, and these are exactly the things that I look forward to in a career. And I really would like to appreciate my father to actually have given me that freedom. I'm really privileged that way.
One more thing that I have noticed about the father is the fact that he read a lot, right? And that has actually rubbed on you in a great way. So I was also wondering like how to make a small kid to read. It's actually to read ourselves so that the kid actually emulate yourself. Now, I believe that in that sense you have emulated your father to read more and to know more about the society. When it comes to the emotional support, the mother, right? She plays a very crucial role. I think in your case also, your mother has been a strong pillar of support. Now, how do you identify her in your journey?
So I don't know. I don't think 20 minutes are enough to talk about this, but actually, my mother is somebody who will really understand if I breathe differently. So she notices so much about me, and she knows everything about me. And literally, the only job that I had at home was to study. Everything else was taken care of by her and my father. So I would say they were my biggest sources of support, and it's very important in this long, arduous journey of 1 year. Without such kind of a support system, I think it's really difficult for candidates to actually get through this 1 year. And I would say I'm a very privileged person, given that even during the lockdown, I had the presence of my family around me. I had good internet connection. So these are things that a lot of people do not have. So I do not want to take these things for granted, and I just hope that I can live up to everybody's expectations now that I have secured a rank which can get me into IAS.
You are very clear about yourself, and you took decisions for your own. Your father has shown you the path, but you wanted to wait and to understand that this is your. So when it comes to life decisions, you take the decision for you, and you own by it, right? I know that. So in that sense, you have also identified the life partner for yourself. So can you talk about Shubham?
So my husband's name is Shubham, and I got married on 1st September 2021, which was 5 days after my interview. That's another story for a different time. But he was actually my senior from Delhi School of Economics, and he's a Punjabi. And right now he's doing his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. And like you said, talking about how I introduced him to the family, here is another place where I would say the open-mindedness of my parents really came to the fore. So never did they make any emotional comment about why I should or should not choose a particular life partner. All their questions were about very logical things like how will we speak, how will we travel. So that is really one thing that I really am thankful for to my family. And his family has also been a big source of support for me, especially his father. He was one of the most excited people in this entire journey. And I would really like to thank all of them, both my families and my life partner. He was literally my emotional punch bag because there are a lot of things that we choose not to trouble our parents with. So those are the kind of discussions that I could very easily have with him. And I would say that also really helped me to actually live through this 1.5 years of preparation.
Talking with you has actually made me to think about the responsibility that each and everyone has towards himself as well as towards the society. So the accountability, you brought in that element of accountability, which we normally identify with a system rather than with an individual. But you have identified that one particular value, which actually takes you to the to be part of the system and to bring about change. So I believe that your ability to find that accountability from your perspective and also apply your ability, I mean your different faculties or capabilities into civil service, that is actually going to make you a better civil servant. And I hope, and I really hope that you will turn out to be what you really want to be, a better civil servant trying to make changes in the society. And I believe you will definitely be smiling more into the future, bringing about changes in the system, and thereby, like what do you say, Kandan ki naam roshan karna, like making the, I mean, the iLearn is very happy to be part of this journey. So even though she is actually with us for a small period, she has actually given a lot of insights to the process for us also. So that has actually helped us also to give more back to the student community. So I really believe that Aparna would be, I mean, we are, this is not the end of her story. I believe that this is the moment where her actual story is going to start, and we are going to hear more about Aparna. So I really hope that I will be getting over that one particular point and getting that, okay, she has done that changes in the societies. So I would like to wait and see for those changes that she is going to bring. So I would like to congratulate Aparna once again. Okay, thank you. It was very nice talking with you.
Thank you so much. That is very generous praise.
Thank you.